We are joined by Fred Rustmann, former CIA officer. Fred is the author of the new book, The Case Officer. Fred, we bring you back to America's Forum to talk about a couple of key cases, and it's good to have you in studio this morning.
It's a pleasure to be here, JD.
Fred, let's begin with Germany and what's going on there. We're getting reports now of a second German government employee being investigated for spying, presumably for the U.S. What do you know about this?
Well, JD, it's called espionage.
Yeah.
That's that great big building in Langley that we fund for billions of dollars a year. That's what they do. We do espionage. It's the second oldest profession. Some people think maybe it's the oldest profession because somebody needed information to find out where the girls were. I don't understand why people get so upset when this stuff comes out. The United States government and every other major government in the world hires an intelligence service and with the express ability to go out and find information for them. Countries tell us stuff that they want to tell us. We need to know what they really mean behind that. So that's why we do it.
Is there a distinction between intelligence and espionage? For example, you're right, there's nothing new about allies taking stock of fellow allies. I mean, I'm sure military attaches dispensed around the country, around the world, are taking a look at friends as well as foes and assessing what they have. But apparently in this case, what has the press reacting, our British cousins are calling this the biggest German-American espionage scandal since World War II. A 31-year-old man, the first report, apparently walked in, offered his services to the U.S., and the U.S. took him up on it in exchange for quite a bit of money. Now, you say this is nothing new. Is the outcry from the press then hypocritical?
Well, they do it every time. Yes, it's kind of hypocritical. It is. And again, a disclaimer here, I don't have any more, I'm not active any longer. I don't have any access to any classified information anymore. I don't know the actual specifics of this case other than what I read in the press. But what this was a German BND intelligence officer who was recruited by a U.S. case officer. The case officer probably got a promotion for this job. Was it a wrong thing to do? That's what we do. That's called espionage. We would like to know what the BND and what the German government, they're allies of ours. They're very good allies, but we don't agree on everything. And so we would like to know what is behind their statements to the State Department. That's why we have an intelligence service. We want to know the truth about their plans and intentions. So this is what we do, and we will continue to do it. The Germans do it on us. The French do it on us. The Israelis, Walker case, Pollard case, they do it to us. We do it to others. Probably the only country that we don't spy on is Great Britain, because we really do have a special relationship.
Well, Fred, I want to focus on something that General Michael Hayden said yesterday here on America's Forum, and that's the fact that Angela Merkel knew about this when they had that phone call with President Obama, the two of them together, but President Obama did not know. So the question of who knew what when, would this be the type of information that the CIA would not necessarily inform the president about for the purposes of plausible deniability, should it come up in the phone call with the German chancellor?
Well, it wouldn't be because of the plausible deniability. But the president probably did not know the specifics of this case. What he gets in his PDB, Presidential Daily Brief, are snippets of intelligence around the world. Germany is not on the front burner these days. And we've got the Middle East in flames. It's not so he probably didn't know the specifics of the case. Whether Merkel did or not, I can't tell.
And if she did know and did not bring it up with the president, because obviously they were to hash out what Edward Snowden leaked about the NSA and the cell phone, would it be because she was embarrassed that this happened?
Possibly, but again, to get back to what we talked about, JD, it's not new.
Yeah.
This stuff happens all the time. Every time it does happen, you know, people come out and they've got this indignity and, oh my gosh, what are you doing? But okay, it goes away.
One thing that has not been business as usual, the name that John just brought up, Edward Snowden. Now, yesterday, just before we come on the air, we get word from the Russians that Snowden has applied to stay in Russia even longer. And where Germany may figure into the story, not so much German intelligence, but there is speculation that Snowden was first contacted years ago when he was on a mission to Germany. A couple of questions, not so much about the Germans, but specifically staying in Russia. What are we to make of this?
Well, I think he's an agent. He was an agent beforehand. I think General Hayden also mentioned this. I think he was an agent before. I think he was talking to the Russians before. I think that when he was in Hong Kong, he was thoroughly debriefed by the Chinese service. This guy's a whore. This guy was working for the other side before he defected, and once they wring him dry, then he'll go out and live in a dock out on the Black Sea somewhere and spend the rest of his life. He's not coming back to the United States. We don't even want him back.
So when he sat down with Brian Williams at NBC and talked about coming back, and all that is just so much hooey.
Yeah, that's hooey.
Yeah, to put it politely on our family-oriented show.
Hooey.
Well, let's talk more about this notion. So first, the Chinese get a hold of him, as you mentioned.
Right.
Now the Russians.
Right.
And yet here in our society, this guy's taken on folk hero status for a lot of people, thinking, oh, he's giving us the truth about our intelligence agencies. What would you say? And I guess of Senators, Rand Paul has been someone who has spoken, if not glowingly of the guy, at least saying he's got something worthwhile to say. What would you say to Senator Rand Paul and others about this guy?
I would say to Senator Rand Paul that, and I agree with him on a lot of what he has to say, in this case he is absolutely wrong. Whistleblowers have a way to blow their whistles. They go through the chain of command, or they jump around the chain of command, but they go and they report the stuff to their own people, to the United States government. They don't go and whistleblow to the Russians so that the Russians can come back at us and glean all that information.
A little more than a minute and a half left. Part of the latest Snowden information being disclosed, the claim that the NSA, the FBI, taken a look at Muslim Americans. One of the guys, Faisal Gill, had top secret security clearance for the Department of Homeland Security during the presidency of George W. Bush. Should we be surprised by this? Is this another situation where people are wringing their hands over something that should be expected, or does the domestic aspect of this surveillance bother you?
It doesn't bother me at all. We should be all over them like white on rice. Every mosque should have surveillance. All of these people, we should have this penetrated. I believe that the FBI is doing this to the extent that they can. We need to, whatever we're doing, we're not doing enough. We need to do more of surveillance. The Twin Towers were blown up by Islamists, radicals. That is the enemy. We need to keep an eye on them.
Well, Fred, we appreciate your perspective and your reminder that we still live in a post-9/11 world, and we have to understand those realities even as we try to balance our civil liberties. We thank you for your time. Again, Fred Rustmann's book, The Case Officer. But Fred has made some news this morning in the here and now, and we're grateful for it, Fred. Thanks very much. When we come back, we will talk about the Marine imprisoned in Mexico, but we also want to get your thoughts on what Fred had to say just now. We'd love for you to tweet us your comments at Newsmax TV, #America's Forum.